two women played Wonder Woman on television before Lynda Carter ever did. Neither show survived. One never even aired. The spin, the theme song, that gold light you can probably still hear right now almost never existed at all.
Wonder Woman!
The pilot that never aired.
Wonder Woman.
Started in 1967. Batman was a massive hit for ABC, campy and colorful and completely aware of its own joke. And the man behind it, producer William Dozier, wanted to bottle that same formula for Wonder Woman. He shot a test pilot called Who's Afraid of Diana Prince? An actress named Ellie Wood Walker played the role. A handful of minutes got filmed, and then the whole thing just stopped. The footage sat in a vault, and Diana Prince stayed exactly where she'd always been, on the comic page, waiting for television to figure out what to do with her. If you're a lifelong fan and you've never heard of this one, you're not alone. It's hidden because it didn't work, and shows that don't work tend to disappear from the story a franchise tells about itself. The version that got it backwards. Seven years later, ABC tries again, and this time they actually get a full movie made. Kathy Lee Crosby takes the lead, and the studio makes a decision that still confuses people who find out about it today. They strip almost everything that made the character recognizable: blonde instead of black hair, a weird secret agent outfit instead of the costume, and no powers at all. She's just a spy who happens to share a name with a comic book icon. Fans tuning in expecting Wonder Woman got a forgettable spy movie wearing a familiar title, and it landed with barely a ripple. ABC passed on turning it into a series. The failure wasn't a budget problem or a scheduling problem, it was an identity problem. The studio had the rights to a character everyone already loved and changed the one thing audiences actually wanted to see. The audition that almost didn't happen. Lynda Carter almost missed her own shot at playing Wonder Woman twice. Lynda Carter wasn't a star in 1975. She was a working actress scraping by, and by her own telling, she had about $25 in her bank account when the call came in about Wonder Woman. She'd actually auditioned once already, for the Kathy Lee Crosby version, and lost the role, which is actually wild if you think about it. But the producers scrapped that entire approach after the first movie failed. Real costume this time, real powers, a script that respected the comic instead of trying to reinvent it from scratch. And when they went looking for their new Diana Prince, Carter came back in for another shot at the same character that had already said no to her once. She beat out roughly 2,000 other actresses. The screen test alone convinced the producers to skip the usual audition process entirely. No cold reading rounds, no callbacks. They watched the test footage and they simply knew. The future Oscar nominee on the same set.
Wonder Woman? Here now?
Mother says to tell you that you spent enough time in America and you should come home to Paradise Island and start assuming your role as heiress to the throne.
Carter wasn't alone on that set, and the casting around her hides one of the better pieces of trivia in this entire story. Lyle Waggoner played Steve Trevor, the military officer who spends the entire series being rescued by the woman he's supposedly protecting. What most fans don't know is that Waggoner had actually screen tested for Batman years earlier, back when Adam West got the part instead. He lost that role, then landed here, playing a character whose entire job was to admire Wonder Woman from a respectful distance, while she did all the actual work. And in a handful of episodes, a young actress named Deborah Winger played Drusilla, better known as Wonder Girl. Winger would go on to earn an Oscar nomination within a decade. Long before critics took her seriously, she was running around a Warner Brothers backlot in a smaller version of the same costume, completely unknown, years away from the career that would define her. When the show earned its audience.
Come on, I'll get you out.
Season 1 premiered on ABC in November 1975. Set during World War II, Diana Prince fighting Nazis, in that red, white, and blue costume that suddenly read less like a costume and more like a flag that had learned to throw a punch. Think about what Friday nights looked like for a kid in 1975. You got your homework out of the way early. You claimed your spot on the living room floor, close enough to the television that your parents told you to move back. And then that spin happened, when the music hit and the light flashed and Diana Prince became someone else entirely. That feeling is why the ratings were solid, genuinely solid. Audiences responded to the sincerity of it, a hero who never once seemed embarrassed to be hopeful in a decade that had gotten pretty cynical about almost everything else on television. This wasn't a show winking at its own premise. It played every bit of it straight, and viewers rewarded that. But sincerity came with a price tag. Shooting a period piece every single week meant period sets, period wardrobe, period cars, all running through a television budget that wasn't built to support it. ABC had a genuine hit on its hands that was quietly bleeding money with every episode it aired. The invisible jet nobody could actually afford to make.
Jet.
The Invisible Jet deserves its own moment because it's one of the funniest budget compromises in television history. The idea sounds simple enough. Wonder Woman flies an invisible jet. On the comic page, that's an easy detail to draw. On a 1970s television budget, that's an actress sitting on a visible platform, pretending an entire aircraft around her simply doesn't exist, while the effects team does whatever they can with the resources they've got. It looked exactly like what it was. A woman sitting very still on a painted prop, selling an illusion the show could never quite afford to make convincing. And somehow, it worked anyway, because Carter played it completely straight every single time. She never winked at the camera about it, never treated the effect like a joke the audience was in on. That commitment is the only reason viewers went along with it instead of laughing the whole thing off the air. Honestly, that's the formula for a lot of 1970s television. Big ideas, small budgets, and performers who refused to break character over the gap between the two. That's honestly where the magic happened. The network flip that changed the entire show.
Wonder Woman.
CBS picked up the series for its second season and retitled it The New Adventures of Wonder Woman. They didn't just change the network, they pulled the setting out of the 1940s entirely and dropped Diana Prince into the present day, 1977. Same actress, same lasso, a completely different show wearing the same title. Carter later said the show lost something the moment it left the 1940s. The stakes felt smaller. The sincerity that carried season 1 got traded for something glossier and more disposable, tied tightly to its exact moment instead of standing outside of time the way the earlier episodes did. If you grew up catching random reruns out of order, this probably explains something that confused you as a kid. Some episodes felt like a completely different show, because for 2.5 seasons, it basically was one.
Now the world is ready for you.
The stunt nobody in charge wanted her to do. Though Jeannie Epper and Kitty O'Neil performed the majority of the dangerous and high-risk action sequences, Carter did some of her own stunts, including a sequence hanging from a moving helicopter, the kind of shot most actors would have handed straight to a professional double without a second thought. Producers expected her to wear protective wrist guards for it. She skipped them because she wanted the shot to look real instead of safe. It reportedly upset the people running production enough that after that sequence, the studio brought in a female stunt double for the more dangerous work going forward. She wasn't performing toughness for the camera. She was actually tougher than the production wanted her to be, and that's not a small distinction. The shelf in your bedroom you forgot about.
Dressed this way, she's a Navy wave. But beneath that uniform, she is the Wonder Woman doll.
Mego released multiple waves of Wonder Woman figures throughout the show's run. A bend and flex version, 12-inch dolls tied directly to Carter's likeness, smaller action figures that showed up in toy aisles right next to Batman and Superman. If you had one, you probably remember the specific weight of it in your hand, the way the plastic cape never quite sat right no matter how you adjusted it, the way you'd spin the figure around trying to recreate that transformation scene with a toy that obviously couldn't do it justice. Maybe you didn't own the figure yourself, but remember a friend's older sister having one on her dresser, or seeing it in a toy catalog and circling it before Christmas. That's not a minor detail. That's the show reaching past the television screen and into actual bedrooms and backyards, which is exactly how a series turns into a memory instead of just a rerun you half remember. Not a cancellation, just a quiet stop. Most shows get a dramatic ending in these retrospectives. A scandal, a lawsuit, some executive making a villain speech 30 years later in an interview. Wonder Woman didn't get that. It just faded. Ratings slid through season 2 and 3. One year, the show landed around 71st place nationally. The next year, 59th. Respectable numbers, but not enough for CBS to keep investing in it. In 1979, after 3 seasons, CBS simply didn't renew it. No farewell episode, no explanation to the audience watching at home. The show that opened with a spin and a flash of gold light just stopped airing 1 week and never came back. If you were watching live in 1979, you got a rerun slot filled by something else, and it probably took you a while to even register Wonder Woman wasn't coming back. But the character didn't fade with the show. A few years before Carter ever put on the costume, Gloria Steinem and Ms. Magazine had already been rebuilding Wonder Woman's public image, turning her into a symbol tied to the feminist movement rather than a comic book curiosity from the 1940s. Carter's version landed right into that cultural moment, already primed for an audience that wanted exactly this kind of hero on their screen every week. Carter herself described Wonder Woman years later as an idea, not a costume, not a set of powers, an idea about fighting for freedom. That's what separates this show from the 2 failures that came before it. The 1967 pilot and the 1974 movie disappeared because nobody had a reason to remember them. This one stuck because underneath the invisible jet and the tight budgets and the disco-era rebrand, there was a character worth caring about.